Welcome to Aligned AF, real talk for evolving souls with Yahweh Kent. Join Yahweh for honest conversations on spiritual growth, the messiness of life, and how to move through it all at a higher frequency. So grab a cup of tea and let's sail in. This is Aligned AF, and here's Yahweh.
Welcome back to Aligned AF, real talk for the evolving soul. I'm Yahweh, and I am thrilled to have you with me today. Things are getting a little smoother in the old podcast world for me. It's had a break there while I was sick for a while, but I'm starting to get back into the swing of things. I'm starting to write some new episodes and to find the time to actually sit down and record these things. I'm also gaining some new tools through the podcast website that I use. I use riverside.fm for those of you that may be interested in podcasting or already doing it, and maybe you're looking for a new host. Riverside.fm is a terrific site. It's very user-friendly, so if you're not super tech savvy like me, it's a incredibly useful and user-friendly tool. It's got tons of features and stuff that I haven't even started using yet. I'm still trying to figure some things out, but as I move along, I'm starting to expand my tech base, my bandwidth, so to speak. Like today, for instance, I'm using a teleprompter for the first time. I'm not reading the entire thing. I'm using it for bullet points. So if you hear some awkward moments or see, if maybe you're watching this on YouTube and you see my eyes start to scramble around a little bit, that's just me getting used to the teleprompter. So one thing I make sure of here is it's all real. You know, I don't try to hide anything. I don't back out my stupid mistakes. I just say, this is me and this is it. So I'm thrilled to be with you today. Today's episode is going to be a good one because I think it kind of relates to pretty much everybody. Some of us deal with it a little bit differently, but the title of the episode is Awakening Gone Wild. This wasn't in the brochure. So what do I mean by that? So what we're going to do is we're going to dive into the question a lot of us face. Am I spiritually awakening, or is my life just falling into chaos? So as we're growing, as we're expanding, as we're trying to find the answers to everything in our lives, we run into these chaotic moments, sometimes just a few, sometimes a shitload, where things just start falling apart. And sometimes we think, maybe the world's out to get us, the universe isn't backing us up, spirit isn't on our side, and none of that could be further from the truth. But that doesn't always feel that way because we deal with the human stuff that comes along with it all. Awakening doesn't always come to us on a crystal breeze with angelic music. Sometimes it kicks in the damn door and knocks everything off the shelves, leaving us to stare at the mess. So let's get into it. We're going to start things off by talking about the great unraveling. It's that moment when everything you thought you could count on just starts crumbling around you. Relationships start to shift. Jobs no longer seem to fit with us anymore. We don't feel like we belong anywhere, including in our own skin. We have friendships or even romantic relationships that we've had for so very long that just don't seem to be what they were before. And this in no way is saying you need to end those relationships, but it's not unusual for changes to happen. Sometimes it's because of what you're going through. Sometimes you have to keep in mind it's because of what the other person is going through. And how can we find ways of supporting ourselves as well as each other? What about your job? I don't know about you guys, but I've had those moments where, I went into a job and I was having just the time of my life. I knew I was cut out for it. I was doing really well. I was very successful at what I did. And then, a few years later or several years later, it just started not feeling the same anymore. It felt like I didn't really belong there, like I wasn't being fulfilled any longer. And that's not unusual. And it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with the job, and it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. It means that part of you has changed, and maybe the job hasn't. And it's time for you to shift out of that. Previous episode was about comfort, sometimes feeling like you're in a cage. That can happen a lot when you're in a job. And when you feel that comfort level, then you're not really growing, you know? So that's part of your spiritual awakening as well. The other thing we kind of all experience at times is we feel like we don't belong anywhere. We feel like the stuff that's going on around us just doesn't fit in our lives anymore. And it's a tough situation because there are times where we feel like, what's wrong with me? What am I doing wrong that all of this doesn't feel right anymore when it was so perfect before? But it's not that you're doing anything wrong. It's just that you're going through this awakening inside you where your very spirit, your very essence is demanding expansion, and it can't be contained in the world that you currently exist in. See, we step into stuff that's new all the time. We expand into that space, and then it starts to feel confined. It starts to feel like, for an analogy, okay, you get a new puppy and you want to crate train them, and you buy a good size crate, a nice big one, and you think that's going to be perfect for him. But then that puppy starts to grow and he starts to fill up that space. And pretty soon you realize that he can barely turn around in there and he's not comfortable and he has to sleep totally curled up all the time. And that's what our lives can be like sometimes. We feel like we've grown and overfilled the crate that we've created for ourselves. And so what do we do? Is it there's something wrong with us, or is it that it's time for a new space? It's time for a new existence. And there are times too where you start to feel like you just don't feel comfortable in your own skin. Things have shifted so much and so much has changed within you that you don't feel the same anymore. Sometimes for me, I've experienced not just that I don't feel comfortable in my skin. I've changed my look to try to do that, my physical look. Sometimes I would grow my hair out. I grew my hair out for 2 years, long enough that it was touching my shoulders and I could wear a man bun. And I thought it was a good look for me for a while. And I got lots of positive feedback, not just from my barber, but also from my wife and my friends and my family, saying, "Yeah, it's working for you." But then I started expanding into that too, and I ended up expanding beyond it, and I had to shift. And over the course of my life, I've shifted my look God knows how many times, and I'm sure you have too. Whether it's different haircuts, different facial hair, different styles of clothes. I'm starting to finally own the 60-something guy that's a part of this world. And I'm allowing my maturing soul to kind of go with that. I love my gray hair and I love my gray beard. And, I kind of sometimes I feel like the most interesting man in the world. And I've allowed myself to expand into whatever changes that I've felt coming. We have to remember that with what's going on around us, with what we're seeing, with what we're feeling, with what's happening, that 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 unraveling sensation that we're feeling, it's not failure, okay? It's our soul creating space for the new. It's alignment trying to happen, okay? Everything within you is changing. Everything within you is growing. If it wasn't growing, you'd be stagnant. And then, quite honestly, you would die. You have to expand. You have to change. You have to shift. First of all, for your own peace of mind and your own happiness, but also for your body and for those around you. You have to expand. You have to grow. You have to be constantly becoming more than you currently are in this very time and space. And it's only failure if you stop. It's only failure if you just absolutely refuse to even try. Trying is scary. I know that. Trying means you're going to step into something that's new, that's different, that's uncomfortable. And change is the number one fear of almost all humans. Yeah, I don't know if that's technically true. I don't know if there's a study that says that, but think about it for a minute. Of all the things that you could possibly be afraid of in your life, change is right up there. It's number one. I know it's number one in my world sometimes, but you can find a way to kind of embrace that change and to allow it to happen. So first of all, let's take a look at a few examples in your life of what may be going on that would demonstrate that you're going through this spiritual awakening. Okay. First of all, you start questioning everything. You start questioning your career. You start questioning relationships. You start questioning even your very purpose in life. That's normal. Don't be afraid of it. It doesn't mean that anything's wrong. It just means that what you are becoming doesn't fit with what you've currently created. You need to be open to expanding what you've created in your own life. It could be that people you've known forever, for decades, for lifetimes, just start falling away. Sometimes it's because they don't get you. Sometimes it's because you don't get them. Remember, they're going through something too. So they start falling away, and that's okay. You know, we don't want to lose our friends. We don't want to lose our loved ones. But we also sometimes need to just allow things to happen the way they're supposed to happen for us to be able to move on, and for them to be able to move on. We're not doing anybody any favors by grabbing a hold of them and keeping them in our lives when they may be going through some changes that we don't quite understand. There are going to be times where you start to feel alone on a really deep level. You could still be surrounded by your friends and your loved ones, but you're oddly aware of this change within you that makes you, on a deep soul level, feel kind of alone, feel like there's nobody else out there right now that gets where you're at. There's nobody that's right there beside you while you're dealing with this. And I assure you, this is not an unusual feeling, okay? And while each of us is having our own very unique experience, we can support each other and we can kind of relate to what's going on. We don't have to feel completely alone. Sometimes our sleep is off. We are not sleeping the number of hours that we normally sleep, or we're waking up in the middle of the night and staying awake for a few hours. The whole 3 a.m. witching hour thing, that's not a wives' tale. That's a thing, you know. So many people do it. I experience it and have experienced it for years now, where I never, ever, ever anymore sleep for 6 hours straight or 7 hours straight. I just don't do it. I've come to expect it. I've come to get used to it. And no matter what I do, if I wake up at 1 or 2 or 3 in the morning, no matter what I do, I may try meditating. I may try getting up out of bed. I had a therapist once tell me that getting out of bed is the thing to do when you can't fall back to sleep, because you want to train your brain to know that bed is only for sleeping and sex. And if you're not having sex at 2 a.m., get your butt out of bed and do something else. I've tried that. Like I said, I tried meditating. I've tried watching something. I've tried sitting in total silence. I've tried watching something that I have no interest in whatsoever, and I end up staying awake. I try watching something that I'm really interested in, because usually if I start watching a movie at 8 o'clock at night, I'm out cold by 8:30 and I miss the whole thing. But that doesn't work at the 2 a.m. hour, the 3 a.m. hour. And so I finally have come to the point where I've just said, okay, I'm awake. What do? I allow my brain to just kind of go off on its own and keep track of it. Sometimes I'll journal what's going through my brain. It's not a bad thing to keep a journal next to your bed. Catch your dreams, catch your thoughts, all of that stuff. Because guarantee you're not going to remember half that stuff in the morning. But it's not unusual for your sleep to be way off when you're going through some sort of awakening. And also synchronicities start showing up more frequently in your life. People talk about seeing the magic numbers, like seeing 333 every time you look at the clock, or 1111, dates lining up, things like that. But synchronicities are also also things like thinking about somebody, and then 3 or 4 hours later you get a text from them after years of having no contact whatsoever. Those synchronicities, keep an eye out for them and don't write them off as coincidence. I truly believe that there's no such thing as coincidence. In a universe of infinite possibilities, it makes sense to me that energies and thoughts and karma and all of that stuff somehow finds alignment occasionally, and we connect with things that seem like coincidence, seem like, wow, that shouldn't have happened, but it did, kind of thing. Pay attention to that stuff. Look for the reasoning in it. Look for the messages in it. It's all there. One of the things I want you to really keep in mind when you're going through all these things, and this is only a few of them, but keep in mind that you're not broken, okay? You're breaking open. Let's say that together again. I'm not broken. I'm breaking open. Okay? I'm allowing myself to split apart and become so much more than I've already been. It's kind of like I was reading an article on caterpillars becoming butterflies just yesterday. And, I've always known about the process of metamorphosis and them being in a chrysalis and all that stuff. That's stuff we learn in school. And I always found it interesting. But I read the article, and it kind of struck me as I went a little deeper in it that a caterpillar will literally break down into goop, into liquid, into a mass of totally different blech, and somehow reconstruct to become a butterfly. And how often does it feel like that's happening to you? How often do you feel like everything inside you is just turning to sludge? Well, maybe you're the caterpillar, and maybe you're trying to become that butterfly. You have to break down before you can build it back up. You can't build a new house on an old foundation. It's not going to last. So You gotta let it break down. And you can do it controlled. You can do it in parts and bits and pieces. It doesn't have to be just total chaos where everything just literally falls apart and your life is a fucking mess. It doesn't need to be that way. You can be aware of it and then look for ways to get through it a piece at a time with some ease and with some grace. It's not going to be comfortable. Absolutely not, because nothing comfortable ever became something great. Okay? You've got to have a little bit of chaos. You've got to have some discomfort in order to grow. It's like building your muscles at the gym. When I started going to the gym again, first of all, I was disappointed in myself for where I was at physically. I had had enough problems with the one lung and having heart issues and stuff like that. So when I started over, I gave myself the grace to just be where I was at. The ego in me was not happy about only being able to curl 30 pounds and only being able to lift 10 on the free weights on each arm, and only being able to walk a mile at a couple of miles an hour without getting winded, and only being able to do 50 pounds, on ab crunches. All of that stuff, there was a part of me, the human ego part of me, that felt bad about that. But I let myself be where I was. And after a couple of weeks, I was able to add a few pounds. And then I started adding 5 pounds across the board. And then I started adding another 5 pounds across the board and another 5 pounds across the board. And after a year or more, I was actually feeling really good about what I was doing. And I was noticing a major difference in my body. I had abs for the first time in my life, and I felt really good about myself because I allowed myself to be where I was and to take the small steps to move forward. Sometimes we tell ourselves a lie. Sometimes we say to ourselves, I must be doing something wrong. With the way my life is going right now, there's got to be something that I'm screwing up here. It's got to be my fault. What else could it be? But we have to remember that the breakdown part of it is exactly what's right. There's nothing wrong. We're not doing anything wrong. What's happening is exactly what's right. Your soul is calling this in. And it's not punishment. It's permission. Your soul is giving you permission to expand more. And it's saying that this is going to suck. There are times where this is going to hurt. It's going to be painful. It's going to be sad. You're going to be angry. But it's worth it. And it's growth. And you can do that because your soul, your every amount of energy in the universe that you're connected to is there for you. And you can do this. So you got to stop pretending. Okay? Stop shrinking into the old version of you that no longer works, that no longer makes sense. What do I mean by stop pretending? We create these lives and we act, where some of us deserve a fucking Oscar for the way we act in public or around our friends and family. There'll be times where, how many times have you heard a story or experienced yourself or within your own family or friend group? How many times have you heard the line, I had no idea he was going through that? Well, that's what we do. We pretend. We don't let anybody see us because somehow society has convinced us that that is a weakness. But I got news for you. Being vulnerable is not weak. Being vulnerable is one of the most brave things you can do. It takes a tremendous amount of fucking courage to be vulnerable and to say, this is where I'm at. If you can help me, great. If you can't, please step back out of the way so that I can manage this myself. It doesn't matter if others think you're crazy. You have to do what's true for you. Now, naturally, this doesn't mean being cruel or unkind or immoral. It means being the opposite of what you've been up to now. Being different than what you are in the moment, because that has become uncomfortable to you. That has become a story you've told yourself is the right way to be and how others expect you to be. Here's an example, okay? For years, for decades, I was in retail management training. I have always been a boss, always. My first job was a hardware store. I was hired as a sales clerk, and 6 months later I was the assistant manager, and within a year and a half I was the youngest store manager that the company had ever promoted. Had my own store, was training my own people, and this was in my early 20s. And then after that it was another retail outlet, and I was hired as a manager. And after that, it was another retail outlet, and I was hired as a manager. And then I was hired as a sales manager of a furniture store. And then, I tried to get out of being the boss for a while. I decided when my third son was born in my second marriage, I didn't want to be in charge anymore. I just wanted to go to work, do my job, and come home and spend time with my son. And I decided to take a second shift job so I could spend days with him and just be there nights. And so when I got the job, first of all, the person who interviewed me was like, look, you're way overqualified for this. And I had to convince him that that's what I wanted. I didn't care about my qualifications. I just wanted a job where I didn't have to be in charge anymore. And so they hired me at the airport to be a load desk operator. And within 6 months, I was telling everybody what to do, and they asked me to be a supervisor. And I was like, but that's not what I wanted. And my boss said directly to me, he said, look, you're already telling everybody what to do. You're already running the show. Let me pay you for it. So I did that. I can't help but be in charge. And that's not an ego attachment. It's just who I am. It's the very nature of me. After I got out of that, I went back into retail, and I was a manager trainer for Blockbuster until they went out of business. And after that, I worked for one of the larger coffee distributors in the country. You can guess who it is, but I'm not going to say it because it wasn't a great experience. I was a manager trainer for them, and I finally reached a point where, I was in my very early 50s, and my three boys were grown, and I decided that I just didn't want to do that anymore, that it wasn't who I was anymore. It wasn't feeling right. And so I quit. I just gave my notice. I had no job lined up. I didn't know for sure what I wanted to do. But I knew I had enough money to take some time off and figure some shit out. And I did a little traveling. And during that traveling, I landed in Kansas City, and something shifted in me when I was in Kansas City. Something was pulling me there. So I literally sold everything that didn't fit in my pickup truck, and I drove 1,400 miles with no job and a place to stay with friends until I could get my feet under me. And it was a big ego shift for somebody in his early 50s, but I had to do it. You know, I was just, there was something in me just screaming to get out. It was the fucking butterfly trying to get out of the chrysalis, you know? And so I did that, and I allowed the shit to fall. I allowed everything to just drop where it was, and I allowed the change to happen. And what occurred after that has been the greatest moment of my life. It's I'm with a woman now who is just truly amazing. Who for the first time in my life has taught me that it's okay to trust a woman. I never trusted any woman, starting with my mother, and that's another whole episode right there. But I grew up believing that women cheat. My mom was an example. I had a girlfriend that was an example. My first wife cheated on me. My second wife cheated on me. So I believed it was just the nature of the beast. And this woman, this Alara, this light in my life, has shown me that that's not the truth. That's not the case. And I never would have gotten that if I hadn't allowed my life to fall away and just expand into something new. And I wanted to be more. And she helps me to be more every single day. So how do we navigate all this without losing our minds? Okay. How do we get through the chaos without losing our shit? Well, first of all, you need to stop trying to find an immediate fix. There is no, I need it to be over. I need it to be done. I need to get through this. It's not going to work that way. You have to let shit fall where it may. And then you have to get quiet. And when I say that, I don't mean isolated. I don't mean burying yourself far away from everybody. You don't have to become a hermit. But you seek safe spaces and safe people. You need to be around people who get it. And there's lots of them out there. But you need to be vulnerable. And you need to say, this is what I need. I need people around me that get where I'm at. And I don't need people around me that refuse to see it. And it's not going to be easy all the time. But you can do it. You just have to allow it. The other thing you want to do is start writing everything down. Keep journaling. Keep a journal next to your bed. I mentioned that earlier. Journal everything, because that will help you as you read over your entries. That will help you find the common threads in your journey. It will help you identify the paths that make your travels so much clearer. It'll help you. You also have to trust your body. If your nervous system is revolting to the same old all the time, you need to listen to it. Trust your gut. You have to ask yourself better questions. Instead of, why is this happening to me? Ask yourself, what is this trying to reveal? Because remember, nothing in the universe is happening to you. All right, that may spark some negativity or controversy, and that's fine. But this is what I believe. I believe that nothing in the universe happens to us. I believe that it happens either because of us or in spite of us. Okay? Things happen in spite of us when we do nothing. Things happen around us, things affect us when we do nothing about it. Or things can happen because of us, because we've made attempts, because we've made moves, because we've stepped forward, because we've allowed the changes to happen. They happen. The only thing that stagnation does for you is create more stagnation. And then you get into the realm of things happening in spite of you. The whole world goes on around you and leaves you behind. Awakening is not fun and games. It's not always bliss. Sometimes it's grief, sometimes it's rage, sometimes it's numbness. But it's all part of it. And you have to allow yourself to experience those things. You can experience rage without hurting anybody, including yourself. You can experience anger. You can experience sadness. You can experience numbness. All of those things are a part of it. But they don't have to become where you live. They don't have to become a place where you anchor down and say, this is where I'm staying. So here's kind of a truth they don't tell you, okay? You're not falling apart. You're falling into your true self. The you that you've always been becoming. You've been becoming this you since the day you were born. Actually, metaphysically, since way before that. But in this human experience that we're currently in, the human being that's listening to my podcast right now, the human being who may be driving in your car or sitting with a cup of tea or out on the deck listening or plugged in at the end of the night with headphones on, that you created is not falling apart because your true self is still there. It's still expanding. It's still growing. It's always going to. It always has. That's the you that you've always been becoming. So just maybe, this is the mess before the miracle. Thank you, everyone, for joining me today. If you have anything that you want to talk about, anything that you want to share, whether it's questions or emotions or successes or ideas, whatever it is, please reach out to me. alignedafpodcast@gmail.com. Reach out to me on social media. I will always do my best to get back to you. I don't always answer right away. I don't always respond as quickly as I would like to, and that's because life. That's because the humanness gets in the way sometimes. In fact, I owe somebody a return message right now who reached out to me the other day, and I promise I will be reaching back out to you. But please, email me, message me, send me a text, whatever it is. Let's talk, okay? If any part of this resonates with you, please share it with a friend that may share it with a friend who may need it, just like you do. Or better yet, share it with a friend who may see what you're going through and need a better understanding of it. As always, if you're watching it on YouTube or listening on Spotify, please please subscribe. It helps me. The more likes and subscriptions I get, the more the hosting sites share it. So please share it. Please remember also that I am not a doctor. I am not a psychiatrist. I am not a medical professional. My opinions and my experiences are my own, and I share them with you in the hopes that one person may get enough out of it to give them a little peace and a little grace in their life. So just keep in mind from this episode, you're not alone, and you aren't crazy. You're just waking up. You're also getting closer to Aligned AF every single day. I'll see you next time. Well, thanks for hanging out with me today. If this episode spoke to you at all, share it with a friend or someone who needs it. You can also leave a review or connect with me online. You can find Aligned AF on YouTube, Facebook, your favorite podcast channel, or at alignedaf.org. And if you want to reach out directly, you can email me at alignedafpodcast@gmail.com. So until next time, stay aligned AF.